Hello everyone, my name is Sierra Brooks and I am an undergraduate, a part of the English and Honors program. And today I will be discussing the reality of anti-Blackness through exploring Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me book essay. The purpose of exploring how it feels to be colored me is to describe how the book correlates with anti-Black racism in my society. And through the study, you should be able to defer the terms anti-Black racism and white supremacy, gain knowledge of how white supremacy is influential in the identities of African Americans, and last but not least, know more about Zora Neale Hurston's controversial yet impactful contributions to anti-Black racism. So the differences between the two is that anti-Black racism is the negative perception towards those of the African American community only, an example of that being that the Black community were prohibited from learning how to read and write at the same room as their white peers. Note that as a Black person, you can exhibit traits of anti-Blackness, but the more respectable and widely used term for that would be colorism. And on the other hand, white supremacy is an idea based upon the white community's superiority to those of the other races. An example of that being is that the KKK is one of the most prominent groups who promote white supremacist ideas. In the first photo from 1957, a little Black girl is integrating into an all-white based school. And in the second photo from 1925, there is a KKK march occurring. Now, I will be summarizing how it feels to be colored me. In Zora Neale Hurston's essay, she delves into her experiences as a Black person during the 20th century. As she grows up, she discovers the true meaning of what it means to be a colored person. And from her perspective, being a colored person in the 20th century isn't necessarily a good thing nor a bad thing. The identity of being African American during one of many racist eras is slowly embraced over the course of the essay as she challenges the perception of Black culture in the eyes of not only the white audience, but also the Black audience. Now I will discuss how both quotes show up in real time. On TikTok, there is a trend going around where African Americans are trying to reclaim their indigenous side by proving they're actual natives. While some provide actual DNA test results, others do not. They make stitches to actual Native Americans' videos and call themselves the original natives, which is degrading to indigenous culture. Some of these claims have been debunked through statistical evidence from expert genealogists and so on. According to genealogist Henry Louis Gates, a small percentage of African Americans do have significant amounts of Native American ancestry as they do European ancestry by quite a long shot. The statistics provided were only 19% have at least 1% Native American ancestry, and 5% of African American people carry more than 2% Native American ancestry. In conclusion, it is a rare chance that Black people's Native American ancestry is proven accurate. To find out more info about this, search for Black people say they are Native American or Black people are Native American. There is a noticeable division within the Black community, especially on Black History Month. Black History Month is a month specifically designed for the Black community for celebrational purposes. On social media, Black people often acknowledge the month by posting Black squares to their stories, but off of social media, there is no sign of attentiveness unless prompted to for educational purposes. There is a division in the Black community when it comes to this month, as simply some do not care, while others do care, but are also looking to benefit from the matter. An example of that is reparations, and some Black people do claim that they want reparations because of what has happened to them. Before Black History Month, there was something called Negro History Week, created by an African American historian by the name of Carter G. Woodson, which was established to promote and recognize the studies and scholarly doings of African Americans. This week was made in the month of February, which also was the time when Abraham Lincoln and Frederick were born, two of many beings that have helped shape Black history. Do note that Abraham Lincoln was a white man who did not advocate for the Black community, while Frederick was a former slave who fought to abolish slavery for good. Lincoln once stated, "I will say then that I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and Black races." And this was during an 1858 series debate with Stephen. In this photo from 1863, Frederick Douglass is making an appeal to Abraham Lincoln to enlist Negroes instead of trying to separate them from the white people who have also been enlisted. Now, how does this all correlate to the ideas of white supremacy? Both quotes from Zora Neale Hurston's essay mainly appeal to the white audience and insinuates conservative stances. Black communities on TikTok and during Black History Month engage in self-degradation by separating themselves from their blackness and identity as African Americans. And last but not least, Abraham is credited for what Frederick Douglass has been trying to do for many years as a former enslaved, controversial, and actually tied to anti-Black racism. Many African Americans were not too fond of Hurston's portrayal of Black Americans, and it went as far as some suggesting that she is a quiet Black conservative. However, regardless of the criticism made, her book increased in popularity among schools. Some were also not in favor of the books being read among students as they appeased the white audience while the Black community were being misportrayed during the 20th century. As the book is highly tied to educational contributions, it is also tied to anti-Black racism because it stereotypes members of the Black community using broken English, focuses more on Black women rather than the Black community as a whole, consistently appeases the white audience through the degradation of the Black community, and last but not least, disregards the Black community's struggles and infers that they should not live in the past. Thank you all for listening. Please let me know your thoughts, but before we end, here is a quote said by Zora Neale Hurston herself. "Sometimes I feel discriminated against, but it does not make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How can any deny themselves the pleasure of my company? It's beyond."
One of the reasons I'm a good librarian is that I like learning random stuff, and I have never heard of Negro History Week before. That is fascinating. So thank you for sharing that with everybody. One more round of applause. Woo!